4 shocking statistics about the COVID-19 lockdowns. Not the virus, the lockdowns. According to new data from Yelp, 55% of businesses that have been forced to shut down between March 1st and July 10th, thanks to the government-mandated lockdowns, are now closed permanently. That's right, half of businesses that were shut down have been forced to close forever because they couldn't make ends meet. The government-mandated lockdowns killed them. According to the data from Yelp, the rate of permanent business closures is actually accelerating. In June, 44% of businesses closed since March, closed for good, compared to 55% through the middle of July. So it increased by a whopping 11% in just 1 month's time. Meanwhile, according to a new report from the UK government, more than 200,000 Brits are expected to die thanks to the government-mandated lockdowns. Again, not the virus, the lockdowns. 46,000 people have died in Britain from COVID-19, but according to the UK government data, 200,000 are expected to die from the lockdowns themselves, from delayed medical treatment, suicide, domestic violence, and economic devastation, amounting to nearly 1 million years of life lost because of the lockdowns. Speaking of years of life lost, Stanford epidemiologist Dr. Scott Atlas says the lockdowns in the U.S. will result in more years of life lost than the virus will cause itself. Atlas says, and this was back in May when he wrote this, and I quote, "The disease has been responsible for 800,000 lost years of life so far. Considering only the losses of life from missed health care and unemployment due solely to the lockdown policy, we conservatively estimate that the national lockdown is responsible for at least 700,000 lost years of life every month, or about 1.5 million so far, already far surpassing the COVID-19 total." End quote. This isn't just happening in the US and the UK either. According to a new report from the United Nations, the government-mandated lockdowns are killing people all around the world. In fact, the new UN report says 10,000 children around the world are dying of starvation every month, thanks to the government-mandated lockdowns in our country and others. 10,000 kids every month. And don't try to tell me if we hadn't locked down, the virus would have been worse. That's an unfalsifiable claim. It was based on ridiculously flawed model predictions built on secret algorithms. There's no way to disprove it, and it doesn't match with reality. Because if lockdowns worked, then how do you explain Sweden, who didn't lock down and is now seeing COVID-19 cases and deaths completely bottom out? The truth is, politicians messed up. They messed up big time. The COVID-19 virus may be bad, but the so-called cure from our government, locking down the nation, ruining our economy, devastating people's lives here and around the world, is not only worse, it's deadly.
As COVID cases mount across the country, the mass debate is intensifying.
We're very passionate on both sides of the great mass debate.
The partisan mass debate is heating up.
Mass debate's growing.
The president is trying to have us cover the mass debate.
CVS, Target, and Walgreens are getting in on the mass debate.
The mass debate now taking center stage at local restaurants.
It's 9 minutes after 6 now, and there's new video of a raging mass debate. The mass debate in Georgia is getting ugly.
The great mass debate in West Virginia might soon be coming to an end.
This mass debate is far from over.
How many mass debates have you gotten into? Love to hear it.
The mass debate was taken to a whole nother level.
Bishop David Zubik tells Pittsburgh's Action News 4 he found himself in the middle of a mass debate.
And we'll dive deeper into this pet store mass debate.
So we're going to begin with this thing we're calling the great mass debate.
The much-lauded New England Journal of Medicine stated on May 21st, 2020, that they know, not think, not believe, not surmise, they know that, quote, wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. They even admit that, quote, in many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. These people know reflexive actions aren't actions based on rationality. Reflexive actions are thoughtless actions that rational people discourage. Even the mask manufacturer for the popular surgical mask that a lot of people like to wear states under this big warning, quote, this product is an ear loop mask. This product is not a respirator and will not provide any protections against the virus that shall remain unnamed and other viruses or contaminants. It further states that wearing an ear loop mask does not reduce the risk of contracting any disease or infection, and yet we're told to wear them. In many places, we're mandated, and yet we're told to wear them. In many places, we're mandated to wear them. You gotta wear them or else. Even the nation's most popular doctor actually instructed us against wearing masks.
When you see people and look at the films in China and South Korea, whatever, everybody's wearing a mask. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. In the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often, there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course.
Not too long ago.
Be as forceful as possible in getting your citizenry to wear masks.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread the disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you? No right not to be vaccinated? Meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccination
Where is that in the Constitution?
If the vaccination is designed to prevent the spreading disease.
Just a mask. It's just 2 weeks. It's just so we don't overwhelm the hospitals. It's just non-essential businesses. It's just until the cases go down more. It's just until we get a vaccine. It's just a few side effects. It's just a bracelet. It's just to let others know you're safe to be around. It's just an app. It's just to let others know who you've been in contact with. It's just a few more months. It's just a video. It's just an email account. It's just a credit card company you can use cash. It's just a few places that won't take cash. It's just a little chip. It's just for medical information and paying for things. It's just for travel. It's just so you can get your driver's license. It's just so you can vote. It's just a few more years. It's just a statue. It's just a building. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a flag. It's just a piece of cloth. It's just a blood test. It's just a scan. It's just a chip. It's just a dog. It's just a clump of cells. It's just the bad people. It's just the undesirables. It's just the Jews. It's just the Christians. Just the people who don't think like us.
What we're actually seeing is the systematic implementation of the fall of the Republic and the rise of the corporation of the United States. Every major event is a step in the ladder to achieve that end. COVID is just another rung in the ladder, which is why there's a deliberate mixing of all the wordplay, right? I mean, we should stop calling it, quarantine. That's a term designated for people that are verified sick. This is a house arrest mandated by the state. You should stop calling it, social distancing. There's nothing social about forced isolation. We should stop saying safer at home when millions of Americans don't have basic necessities adequate to fit their needs. It assumes that everybody's home is equally as safe as the people that are making the statements. We should stop saying, this is for the greater good, right? When you close the economy, killing millions of businesses that families have worked generations to establish, that's anything but good. We should stop saying this is the new normal. That's just blatant mind control drivel. There's nothing normal about forced isolation, treating your neighbor like they have the plague, breathing your own bodily waste, wearing masks, living in constant fear of contamination. That's normal. I mean, after all, if the virus is so deadly, why hasn't it wiped out the homeless who don't social distance, wash themselves regularly, let alone, live in or have access to a sterile environment? Last year, 1.5 million people died of tuberculosis. Why were you not wearing a mask during the tuberculosis pandemic? You were endangering, public health and safety along with billions of other people around the globe. So why didn't you wear a mask? I'll tell you why. Because the mainstream media didn't tell you to wear a mask. Right? It's because though 1.5 million people died from tuberculosis, there was no tuberculosis pandemic any more than there's a coronavirus pandemic. What you're really participating in is a beta test for AI systems and facial recognition. See, these cameras work best when people are, distance apart. Now they're actually testing through machine learning how to recognize, a face that's partially covered. It's also a way to easily determine who's compliant and who's not. Who does the propaganda work on and who it doesn't? Now get this, there's some ironies that are here, right? A society that kills millions of babies a year for convenience has shut itself down to prevent adults from dying. People that on the one hand slaughter babies in the womb by the millions are now preaching to the masses about the sanctity of human life. It's double speak, double talk. It's the two doctrine policy. One for the initiated, one for the uninitiated. One for the inner circle, another for the masses. It's like saying, if I violate the stay-at-home order, I can be arrested, but you're letting convicted criminals out of prison so they don't get coronavirus. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. If there's a real pandemic, does it require, faulty virus models, rigged test results, 81% false positives, inaccurate news reporting, staged hospital overruns, manipulated death certificates? Nope. When the government shuts down, millions of small businesses, but doesn't lay off any government employees, it's not about the health. When the state bans dentists from practicing, but deems it necessary for abortion clinics to stay open, it's not about your health. When the state prevents you from buying seeds for your garden, but allows you to purchase lottery tickets, it's not about your health. An institution that, has the ability to destroy all of Earth through, alleged nuclear warfare should not regulate personal self-defense. An institution that's caught trafficking drugs shouldn't be able to regulate plants. An institution that's racked up $23 trillion prior to coronavirus in debt shouldn't be allowed to manage the retirement fund. An institution that was caught spreading STDs should not be allowed to run healthcare. If people are really concerned about public health and safety, in general, but they don't care if people eat garbage, drink poison, smoke cancer, and take prescription drugs, but think that toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and masks are going to protect them from the boogeyman coronavirus. This is a special kind of stupid that I can't address here. You should ask yourself a couple basic questions. When did you consent from you creating the government to serve you to you serving the government ruling over you? If you want to know, who's in charge, just think about who you can and can't criticize.